People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. Good morning, I hope you're all well and safe. Let me move my Vaseline. Come across some comments online and I thought I'd share them with you briefly, quickly, people. Arteta's spoken in relation to Mustafi and he said, I can accept a mistake. What I'm not going to accept is someone who makes a mistake and stops playing, doesn't want the ball, doesn't want to make decisions. But Mustafi tried to play every time he went for every single challenge. He puts his body on the line. He made a mistake. It's okay, but I like the reaction. I look at more the reaction. He was down afterwards, yes, but he reacted. And if he does that, he'll overcome his situation. In relation to cutting out Mustafi's mistakes, he said, yes, I can help. There are certain patterns that lead to these kinds of scenarios, and the more of these patterns that we take away slowly, that will decrease. I'm confident we can do that. And obviously, for me, people, you don't know me, I was one of Mustafi's biggest fans in this thing, people. Even when, you know, when he came and we was unbeaten with him and what did we used to call it? Kostafi or something. There was a time Mustafi was undefeated. I had a lot of promise about Mustafi when he came to the club. I think he's played well in patches at this club, but like you lot, we've been down a long road. There's been several repeated mistakes. If it's not the one at home to United a couple of years ago, it's what's happened against Chelsea. If it's not that, it's what happened at Anfield. Mustafi, he can't help it, whether it's just not learning from mistakes, not being good enough, mental issues, which I have great sympathy for with him, which he appears to have now. It's not happened. Of course, I would love Mustafi to turn around and turn into a great player, because obviously he's a good ball player. He's very vocal. There are some good attributes there. It's just his decision making and just defending is very rash. He puts pressure on his teammates with that. And for me, I never like to see it from a human point of view. He looks like he doesn't believe in his abilities, which is sad, people. It's not nice for any footballer. And we've heard he was allowed to go under Emre. Obviously, with the centre-half situation we've going under now, he potentially has to stay. But being 27, 28, a year left on his deal, we'll have to revive that situation. But it's never nice to see that. And I think he deserves to either go somewhere and play where you can feel confident in your abilities. Like Arteta said, credit to him for reacting against Chelsea. For me, I believe the damage is already done. Mustafi's shown Mustafi. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you play, you've made that mistake, and it's not even a mistake anymore. I'm not saying he chooses to do these things, but a mistake made more than once is a choice. He's been here for a number of years. The patterns Arteta spoke about, they have been here for years and they haven't gone away. Whether that's down to coaching staff and analytics teams, or Mustafi not doing enough. Soul searching, it's on him. But obviously, at least until the end of the season, you'd be inclined to believe he can stay. Obviously, if Arteta could turn him into a solid defender, that would be decent. Obviously, at times, Mustafi is a scapegoat as well, to be fair to him. But he's 27. He either needs to go somewhere where he can play or turn it around. I'm past it with Mustafi in that he has some decent games. He does some bad things. I don't even blame him. Like, Mustafi shouldn't be playing for Arsenal in 2020. I'm trying to be fair to the player. But it is what it is. David Luiz and Socrates, they're in good form, but they will also let you down when the time comes. So I don't really have a lot of confidence in, like, really all of them should be, long term, we should be looking to move them all out. But for this season, he needs to G up everyone, and it's nice to see that he's speaking high on Mustafi. And to be fair to Mustafi, being in his position, knowing you're barely going to play, knowing that you're really not used, he's kept up the professionalism. He's trained. He's not been a negative influence. He's continued what he needs to continue. And Arteta also said the plans maybe in the summer were different with him. I came here, he's here, and his attitude is always right. He's also said, I've worked with players like this, I've had teammates like this, and there's always a moment where there's a click. So in relation to the patterns of the play, he said he's a very interesting player, very focused, very determined, and willing to learn. Oh, this is about holding, people. We'll get onto the holding comments, but I think he's trying to G up Mustafi to at least use him until the end of the season, and I think he's talking up both centre halves. Holding, because Holding's not really had the best of time from his return from injury. Mustafi's a mistake, and obviously Marie's coming. maybe a bit of that is a signal to Marie. It's like, yeah, you're the new centre half and we need one, but there's competition for places. Or maybe he has plans for Marie to use him, but at the same time he wants to G up these centre halves and see more competitiveness in training. Because again, I don't know the capacity he plans to use Marie. Is he a starter? Is he a regular? Is he a sporadically used player? I don't know, people. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards. But I also think he's been bigging up Rob Holding as well. If I can find these comments, he has said, and Rob Holding has also had a big injury, which you have to give him time to get over. But he needs to come up a level when he's fully fit. He needs to stop showing the same naiveties I've seen since he first come into the team in his first year. But Arteta on Holding, he said, he's a very interesting player, very focused, very determined and willing to learn. Obviously, the fact he was out for such a long time, he is lacking competition and lacking that rhythm. We need to try and give him as much as possible to help him. And I must admit, Holding, for all his problems, it is concerning that Mustafi was seen as a better option than him during what Arteta's played him in. Maybe a lot of that is because of Holding's fitness. Maybe he genuinely sees Mustafi as a different option. But Holding, we cut him a blight because he's had that mad injury, but excluding that, we need to see him develop a bit. I don't need him to be perfect, but he needs to develop a bit and start showing that he's turning into a player. To be fair to him, before his injury he was in good form, and we want to see Rob Holding get back to that. He's also said there were some moments that he looked really, really good. He's a player that is going to be very, very valuable for us. So he might not be playing a lot in the short term, Holding, but that's a good vote of confidence from the gaffer, Arteta, really and truly. Ronaldinho has been speaking on Martinelli, and I mean, as someone who grew up in London that idolised Ronaldinho more or less beyond, not worshipping and that, but I mean, who didn't mess with Ronaldinho? Ronaldinho's one of the only footballers, if I see him, I'll scream like a groupie. So for someone in London, it must be gassed hearing Ronaldinho, but being from Brazil and hearing Ronaldinho speak about you must be a different thing. And Martinelli, we need to be careful with him. I'm not going to keep boring you with the same urge for calmness, but he said in relation to Martinelli, Ronaldinho and Martinelli, we as Brazilians are very excited about him. It's one thing to have talent, but another at 18 to have the confidence. He reminds me of Ronaldo. His first season in Europe, he scored 30 goals and people are thinking, who's this Brazilian kid? He just wants to come on the ball and score goals. Ronaldo went on to be the best in the world, and that can also be the aim for Martinelli. Now, Martinelli's got to keep his feet on the ground, just keep developing for Arsenal, and all the international honours, all the financial rewards, all the higher stature will come. But you'd like to think he's surely close close to getting a Brazil cap, especially because he has Italian ancestry, for being from Sao Paulo, I believe, originally, and he's also got an Italian passport. So if you're a smart Italian and I think Jorginho said it, if you're smart and you're switched on, you surely go and have the conversation with Martinelli's family himself and representatives and seeing how attached he feels to Italy, how open he is to the possibility, potentially. I'd be inclined to believe he feels more Brazilian, he's grown up there and all these things, but I don't know, people. His art, he might be Brazilian, but like, I've got Caribbean grandparents, his grandparents could be Italian, and you know, that's the link, and he feels as much Italian as Brazilian. So it's going to be an interesting one. But you'd imagine he's not too far from a full cap, and obviously the fact that he can play up front can actually boost Brazil, because don't they play with a false 9 more time? But yeah, man, it's big for Martinelli. It's confidence to hear. It's confident for me hearing someone like Ronaldinho, who's achieved everything in the game you could possibly imagine, and get out of football. If Martinelli has a fraction of that ability, he'll be alright. But I love that young player, and while I love speaking to you guys, everything has to come to an end, and I need to sadly get out of it. So on that note, people, as usual, God bless you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Stay safe. Make sure you check out my other content. But for now, people, DG, I'm out. God bless.